So I wanted to start out by hello, hey, the base of the technology that I'm working on, talking about today, is Arduino. So I was wondering who's not familiar with Arduino. Should I? Okay. So a normal Arduino looks like this. Basically, it's just a small little really simple computer, and you use it, you can plug in LEDs, you can plug in sensors, and it's the same kind of thing, like the same kind of equipment that you find in the lights that you buy, or the microphones are the same as what you buy that go into a phone or that go into the technology that you buy. So you get to buy the parts for it, and then you can program it yourself. So it's been really awesome for just kind of making it, the people that kind of knew that space already have a platform where they can kind of translate things and make them simpler for non-professionals but hobbyists to kind of play around with. And so this has worked out well for my dad, who he got his degree in electrical engineering to begin with, and now he's 50, 60. He's kind of been promoted into, now he's a vice president, and he doesn't actually get to build things anymore. He gets to tell other people to build things. And so the Arduino movement has really helped him, kind of keep building things. And then he has helped me along the way too. So I'm going to be talking about some of the things I've ran into, because there's a lot of special challenges in building wearable items that have technology in them, and then talk about the different options you have. So when people who do Arduino stuff think about wearable technology, the first thing they think about is soft circuits. So with soft circuits, they make, instead of having wire, you have conductive thread. So it's thread and that just bends like you would imagine thread to bend. But it's metal. It's little metal fibers that can transmit electricity through them. And so they make special components to sew through, but then you can sew items or electronics right to the garment yourself. So one of the first examples is this, which is a jacket for bicyclists. And there are switches in the sleeves, and the bicyclist can go down, and then when she wants to signal her turn, she clicks a button in her sleeve, and the turn signal is there like a car. So that was one of the first ones and one of the coolest ones. And again, that's just all of the lights are sewn directly onto the jacket that she either made or bought. So like this is, I showed you, this is like kind of a regular Arduino. As you can see, it's not very flat and it's kind of bulky. So it doesn't work as well for soft circuits. So they make special Arduinos that look like this. And so they're slightly smaller. And then they're very, very flat. And so you can put this in a garment, and it's not going to, rub against your skin or snag on stuff. It's very, very small and unobtrusive. And yeah, so then they make not only Arduinos, but LEDs and other kinds of things that have that kind of the same properties of being small and flat. So this is what this is. So it's a little dark, but you can see in the middle is the big picture of the Arduino, and then on the left is like what a project would look like. So you can kind of see it down here, where those stitches are actually like what a wire would be, moving electrical current from the Arduino that you program into the little LEDs that are on the side there. And then this is what those LEDs look like normally, kind of blown up. So, and then they're specially made so that way you can run electrical thread, or you can run the thread through and transmit them. So, and then this is kind of, on the left is like what you would buy if you were just going to build a regular, like a LED sign or something. And then what they do is they take that LED part and they put a board around it, like a small board, but then they break out the different contacts so that way you can use conductive thread to sew through instead of the wire. So I'm always worried about, I talk too fast in America, and I'm really trying to talk slow enough, but if just kind of be like, if anybody needs me to slow down or have any questions or anything like that. So, my font got a little messed up, but there's an alternative to buying special components, and that is to building them yourself. So, again, on the left, that's a normal LED that you would just buy at an electronics store. And what she does is poke the wires through the fabric and then twist the wires down, and then you can run a conductive thread through that. And in the middle here is, again, some little LEDs that I don't, this is kind of complex, but I don't know how to do this, and we should have had it in Swedish, but so when you're doing sewing or beading, like for making jewelry, you get crimp tubes. So when you have like a wire and you wrap it around and you want it to hold it shut, you have a little metal tube that you clasp and it kind of holds it in place. So you take those metal tubes and you solder them to LEDs, and they will work for being sewn in. And it's almost like the other stuff that you buy, but it's something that you can make yourself. And then this last picture over here is this is EL wire, which is electric luminescent wire, where it's a wire that has a chemical inside, and when you run electricity through it, it glows. So I have an example of that. I'll be around here today, so if anyone wants to see any examples of this, I have all my stuff with me. But yeah, so you buy vinyl, like just clear vinyl, and you sew it around like an edging, like you would edging anything. And then that was the bottom of a skirt. I have a bag with me that has it along the edges of the bag too, so the bag kind of glows and it's really cool. So there's pluses and minuses to conductive thread. The good part about it is it's very straightforward, and it's really, really awesome for getting people who are into sewing, but maybe not so much into the electronics, into this for the first time. Because all you have to do is either make or buy an item, and you can sew directly to it, and you know what it's going to look like. You don't have to really plan around it or anything. You just kind of, like you're sewing on a patch on your bag, or you're sewing a button on or something like that. It's just that simple. And then when you do sew it on, it's secure on the garment since that's holding it on. And then the thread is very flexible, so you can kind of wear and move around, and nothing is going to get kind of caught like on stuff with the other electronics. So the bad part about it is with conductive thread, first off, there's no regulations for it, so it comes in a lot of different qualities. So you probably want to buy it from electronics sources and not from eBay. Maybe, it depends, but I know Etsy, they sell a lot of conductive thread that's really different colors. Like if it's really shiny or if it's different colors, it's probably not going to transmit electricity well. So it's too bad, but they just come in different quality, and so you can kind of be really frustrating if you're trying to build a project and it doesn't go well, and you're like, your first thought is, or my first thought anyway when I build stuff is like, what did I do wrong? I did it, I'm terrible. But it could just be that someone sold you some bad thread. And then you need to have it kind of more compact, because with wire, it's one long piece of metal, and conductive thread is several small fibers that they kind of spin together. And as the electricity passes through from fiber to fiber, you end up losing current. And so you need to kind of keep everything together. Like in this, the Arduino for it is like right up in the center of her back, like right here. So everything is kind of just kept really close together, so that way you don't have to worry about your LEDs not lighting up. So there is another way that I've kind of been working with, where you, I want to make sure I got everything here, I think so. There's a third option that I've been working with that is not really soft circuits, because you just buy regular electronics and you don't really modify them, you just kind of build them. It's more about, instead of making electronics work with wearables, is making your wearable work with electronics. So it's about designing a wearable piece that can support electronics and still be a really cute piece of clothing and be awesome, but then like have LEDs in it because that's the best possible combination. But so I'm going to go over this pretty quick, and I have this all stuff with me, so again I can show if anyone wants details about it. But so what I've in the background here, I'm holding a roll of strip LEDs, and so what those are is it's just like each of these little things here are little LEDs, and they're in a big strip, and you're supposed to put them in like your car to make it really flashy, or you can put it in your house to make your house flashy. But what I end up doing is taking off the weather stripping because I don't need it, and then cutting it up into strips, and then soldering wires to reconnect the strips. And for power, you don't need to have anything in a specific order. So you just run a big line of power and then ground in the back, and then you just solder all the wires to that. And I'll talk about durability. But yeah, and so I wish that. So the problem is with durability, this is kind of the thing, is I'm not an expert at durability, obviously, because I have 2 LEDs, and one of them has 1 broken solder joint, and the other one has 2. So I have to kind of hold it, and it was going to be really awkward to be up here with that. So I can show anybody later, and I'll have it around later. But so durability is something that I'm still trying to work on, because when you have these little wires and they kind of bend, so it's, again, you still have to design things so they won't break when you're moving around. But so then designing the wearable, like the actual skirt or whatever, the best advice I have is just keeping it simple. So this is kind of my base for everything, is a circle skirt, which is you take a piece of fabric and you measure your waist, and then you use some math, geometry, and get a radius from it, and then you measure out how long you want the skirt to be. So you have your inner radius, which is your waist, and then the outer one, which is the bottom of your skirt, and you hem the one side, and then you put elastic on the other side, and then you have a skirt. And it takes you, it isn't that hard to do, so I'm never really worried about screwing up with it, because it's kind of just there. If I accidentally cut a part that I'm not supposed to cut or whatever, I'm like mad at myself for 3 hours of work or something like that. So yeah, just keeping it simple will help you, so that way you don't put too much like time or emotional investment in the actual piece, when you want to just kind of keep making something and keep trying things. So the other part about wearable technology is your biggest problem will be weight. Just because when you have, like with the LEDs that I have in the skirt that I've got over there, the LEDs sit right here on the leg, and it's kind of heavy. But it was a matter of, if you were to put everything in one spot, when you'd walk around, you'd kind of have this and that wouldn't be comfortable. So one of the first things I did had a big battery pack on it, and I sort of didn't know how to put it on, so I just sort of threw it somewhere on the skirt. And this was going to be for a Skrillex concert, and it was right here, and the battery pack was really heavy, and it was like clunking against my legs, and I couldn't dance, and it was like literally the worst thing ever. So weight is a really important problem, and so you want to kind of that's the best part about keeping a simple item, is that you can have it as a prototype, and you can just keep doing things and just keep it, if it doesn't work, something will always work. And kind of the problem with electronics is they just don't have a lot of this stuff out there besides to make it. There are tutorials and stuff, but just because you feel like no one has the problem doesn't mean that it's not an awesome problem to have, and that you're not awesome for trying to figure it out. And so that's what the making prototypes and like having to worry about a battery pack in a skirt, like that's awesome. So even though it's frustrating, just kind of working through it is fun. So yeah, and so the battery is like kind of the buzzkill of electronics projects, because they're usually really big and they're usually really heavy, and they're usually like you don't want to have to worry about it. So just plan where it's going to go early on, and then make sure that it'll be kind of out of the way. And then lastly, for designing the wearable, you have to worry about light issues through fabric. So on the top there is the LED array without any sort of cover on it. And those are supposed to be space invaders. If you look on the bottom, that's what it's supposed to look like the entire time. But it's really hard to see it when you don't know what you're looking at. And when you put black fabric over it, because I always wanted my electronics to be kind of hidden and out of the way, when you put black fabric over it, the black absorbs the light. And so again, like you have these little points of light that are really far from each other. So again, it was really hard to see it. And this was, the first time I did this, I got to this point and I was so frustrated because I got so far. And I'm like, this black fabric I don't know what to do. So I sort of shelved it for a year. But all you need is a piece of terry cloth. Because terry cloth, like a towel or a washcloth, because when the light goes through the white terry cloth, it diffuses it out and it bleeds together, like on that other picture. And then when you cover it again with black fabric, it tries to absorb the light again, but it doesn't work as well. So you get to see.
Kristina, can I just add, terry cloth is frotté in Swedish.
Okay.
In case somebody wonders what the fabric is.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, so that was really the perfect solution, and it literally came from me being frustrated and just this towel looks like this paper towel looks good. What about this? And then it just kind of came together and just. So experimenting is kind of the big thing, because you'll come up with the easiest things that and I was frustrated about the light stuff for a long time, and it was just literally throwing in the towel, I guess, but. Throwing on the towel, yeah. So lastly, with Arduino programming, it is a little harder than you think it might be, because it's kind of a low-level thing. But there's a huge community for it. There's forums and blog posts and tutorials. Instructables.com has a really big, community of people that are doing different wearable tutorials. And even if you think that the tutorial itself is kind of lame, just getting in there and just like Lydia was saying, just doing something and just building it will kind of help you get your mind in the way that electronics work. It's not something that's insurmountable. It's just something that a lot of people aren't familiar with. So getting in there and getting familiar with the electronics projects is the first step, and frustration is the only thing that will be holding you back. So then if you ask for help, find a mentor. I think that there is a user group for Arduinos here in Stockholm. But I'm sure that people at the Makerspace would help if people ask questions. And then if you know someone that knows about this kind of programming, but they don't necessarily know that other people would be interested, trying to push them, other people will think what you know is really cool, go out there, because the biggest thing I've noticed is the people that are kind of techie shut-in nerds, they just don't understand that what they know is so cool until they're talking to someone and they put it in oh, I can help you build a wearable technology skirt. And that person's really excited and this person's really excited, and it's just a really good relationship to have. So, and then lastly, this is another thing that I got really hung up on when I was working through this stuff. So in computers, you have two kinds of memory. You have storage memory and then your program memory that runs the actual program. And Arduino is the same thing. And so, but you have to tell it what memory to put things into because it's kind of a small, dumb little device. So progmem is kind of your thing, so if you ever run into it. And then all of my code for my skirts is in this GitHub repo. And which is a repo is just a place where you put code. So if you kind of want some advice for building it, and then you want something to kind of look at the code to see how it runs, it's all there. And then I don't have anything on this website yet, but that's where I'll put the slides and my speaker notes, and then I'll have the links to everything again. And I've had a really great time in Stockholm this week, and I hope I didn't talk too fast. And I'm available on Twitter at Galicia. And just if you see me around, like I said, I brought everything with me. It was just going to be kind of awkward to hold up things up here. So I would not mind at all showing people things. So tack så mycket. And yeah.
Thank you, Kristina.